Hey guys, it's Matt. This is Midnight Reality, which we do often on Saturday, which is a pretty intense discussion about the nature of reality and our place in it. And I'm going to need your help via the comments in this one, something I've been kicking around for a long time that I've never talked about, never presented, but again, I'll look to your comments. If there is merit to this is very interesting, I guess, or could be another piece of the puzzle as we try to put this crazy, mad world into proper perspective. As a reminder, the Midnight Reality Show has a delayed breakdown into nonsense. It stays serious for much longer than most of what I present. For example, not milk-free zone discussions aren't usually part of this presentation. Now, at the end, I would like to address some comments from the last video where people didn't really understand what I was saying. Comments from those that got Righteous Truther Awards. I don't watch college football. Oh, college football. The last video wasn't about college football. It was about your spiritual adversary, which you should be interested in observing and noticing its tactics. Now, guys, I have no idea how to really jump into this topic, so I just have to tell you the story of what happened. What happened hit me harder this time than it ever have. It's like every little inner knowing receptor just went, oh my goodness, is that it? Or could that be it? I've thought about this, or this has come across me many times in the past, but nothing like what happened recently. So I just have to tell you the story, and it'll go from there. Gouda, Pam's cat, we're now in 5 weeks I've been watching him. Some people are like, can you watch my cat for 3 days? Oh, sure. 5 weeks? Just one trip and one business trip turned, I'm going to go camping, and well, then Gouda shouldn't come back and be alone for 3 days. I'll just keep him here. Just one thing turned to the next, and she loves the cat. She really does, and I'm sure she'll take him back tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday, but I'm thrilled to have him. It's just tough because he's in a separate room. What does this have to do with reality, you freak? Just okay. So I'm petting Gouda, and I'm happy to have him here. He's the original cat. We lost his brother Cooper about 2.5 years ago. So I'm petting him, and he's getting older. I guess he is pushing 13 at this point. And I've seen cats lived almost 20, so hopefully we'll be lucky with him. But I'm petting him, trying to appreciate the moment, trying to, do part two, the work, saying to myself over and over, 5-6 years from now, when he's gone, and whenever I do that, I'll say, or I'm gone. It's not just he that may be gone. When he's gone or I'm gone, I always throw that in there, that I may be gone too. But when he's gone, what would I give, appreciating the moment, what would I give to be doing what I'm doing right now, petting him? And I kept saying almost anything. What would I give? And trying to appreciate the moment, to be here, what I'm doing right now, 6 years from now, or 4 years from now, when he's gone. What would I give? And I kept saying almost anything. And then it hit me, and I went, maybe I already did give that almost anything. This life as a trade-off just came roaring into my mind, and I've toyed with this and played with this many times, where it gets, and I don't know, again, it's very hard to talk about. Maybe Joe from Mexico can help us out because he remembers what he was before this incarnation. Almost like pre-life negotiations. Oh, I'll do this, but I won't do that. I don't know exactly. Of course, I can only speak to a few things he mentioned in an email. It almost hit me like, not that there's no free will, but almost like there was a trade-off. Like, okay, Gouda is with us now, and maybe before I incarnated or whenever, or my higher self, the aspect of me that's much larger than what I consider to be me, or we consider to be us in this place, there was like a trade-off, like I don't know how to talk about it, like a trade. I watched Dances with Wolves recently. Good trade. I traded the coat for the beads, or trade the knife for the hat. And good trade. It's like, wait a second. I'm petting him, saying, what would I give to be doing this? And 6 years from now, I'm saying, but maybe I'm doing it right now because I traded something back. You know what I mean? I don't know how to talk about it, but this entire life as a trade-off. You can get this in life if you give up this. And maybe those decisions being made before birth. That's kind of where I'm going here. As I was petting him, it came flooding over every single inner knowing receptor that it seems like that's how it works. And I can't say that's how it works, but the inner knowing receptors we all work on that part 2, the work inner tuning fork. We've all been honing over 10 or 15 years. The receptors just went off the charts. And again, maybe Joe can comment to this. Not that there's no free will. And Matt, you're going to be able to do this in life or enjoy this, like a negotiation or some not a negotiation. This is impossible to talk about, guys. Even if I had the right words and English was meant for this sort of conversation. And then it gets into things like, well, what about Josh? We talked about who is disabled and he can, he needs help. I mean, what was there a trade-off even to that degree where it could, to me, you have to keep on the table that there could be multiple lives or incarnations. Josh traded this incarnation off for another one or another aspect of higher self where he's going to be in a great situation or a wonderful situation or a situation that only 1 out of 10,000 people go through or get to experience. Not some movie career from Alec Baldwin and all that back alley perverted shit. Not Hollywood lifestyles. That's not what anybody really wants. A true and meaningful life. Something like, again, I watched Dances with Wolves recently. Something like was Josh trading off this entire life for another experience somewhere. I know the whole notion of multiple incarnations or reincarnation, it triggers part of our community. Just relax. If we are timeless beings and we always have existed and we always will exist, then that's a lot of time to fill. Not 1 trillion years, 1 trillion years times 1 trillion. A lot of time to fill. If you had to do different incarnations before this, or Tony talked about them as simultaneous, all happening at the same time, hundreds and hundreds, all occurring at the same time, but appearing to be in different time periods, well, we got time, okay? Time is on my side. Would you, Mick Jagger, that horrible monster, go off to David Bowie Island, have fun with him again. We got time. So it's not, you shouldn't trigger anybody that I didn't live no past lives. Oh, okay, relax. You want to be a big thinker, then keep everything on the table. So did somebody in a horrible situation like Josh trade off this whole existence for another? The point is, the specifics, it don't matter. I got overwhelming feeling that this was some sort, like when I'm petting Gouda, what would you give to be petting him and doing what you're doing with him right now, say 6 years from now when he's gone or you're gone? I said I would give almost anything. And I thought, maybe I did. Maybe I already did. It's part of some sort of trade-off or negotiation. So Gouda can be with you in 2024. Cooper's gone. It's like, the higher self sitting down at the table. Okay, let's look at this incarnation. This little pissant aspect of you, Matt, this conspiracy son of a beach. Gouda will be with him. Well, you got to give something back. What are you going to give back? What bullshit or struggle are you going to give back? Well, the higher self sitting at the table may have said, well, the temp agency won't return his calls, whatever it may be. Well, that's not a big deal in life. But again, I don't have the struggles that, of course, most people have. I never had a wife. I never had no even serious relationship. I was just like a recluse, and I don't have any kids. And in a way, this life for me was not about really intense personal relationships or family. I've always known that. I see families, even when I was in my early 20s with kids, and I just knew, or my friends were doing it even in their late 20s. I thought I never consciously thought that's not for me, but I just knew. Every inner knowing cell just thought that knew that just was not going to happen. If you would have interviewed me, I'd said, well, sure, I'll keep on the table. I'd like to fall in love and be infatuated and have a family. I mean, I thought I would have kept it on the table. And it's not saying I knew I didn't want that. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying I knew I didn't want it. I'd be fine with it. Much of it looked great to me. I just knew it wouldn't happen, if you see what I mean. It's not, they're two different things. Just knowing that is not the path that I would walk, whether I wanted it or not. Lavette did my astrology chart about 5 years ago, and I'm listening to it, and she doesn't know anything about my past, nothing. And she says, looking at my Venus, whatever that means, I don't know much about astrology. She says, this is quite interesting, and I'm listening. She's not talking to me live. I'm listening to what she sent me. And she said, you've never had a meaningful relationship, any sort of anything, nothing in your life, no great love, nothing. She just hit the nail on the head. I mean, the astrology, as Levette interpreted it, that's exactly right. So in that way, the astrology was very predictive and very meaningful. You wouldn't just guess at that, right? I'm not the worst looking guy in the world. You think I can carry on a conversation with a woman at a bar or something? I can talk, all right. I'm not going to be like, what's your sign? And she says to me, out with it, Junior. I mean, I can tell a joke from time to time. I can carry myself. You'd think I'd meet people, but Levette's like, you never met anybody. She's like, that's exactly right. But the point of this is not to say, oh, woe is me and Cush and Avery. That's not the point here. The point is this life is like a trade-off of things maybe pre-negotiated before we incarnated, or maybe it's not you as the dream character sitting down doing the negotiation. You're just the pinky on the higher self, and the higher self, there's some sort of negotiation. Oh, in this life, if you want to experience this, what are you going to give back? I just gave this back. Oh no, what are you going to give back? I've got to experience this loss. Or, on the football field, I'm going to blow my knee out and then I'm never going to make the pros, or you're going to give that back. And then that's going to lead you into the life like Nicolas Cage in The Family Man, or whatever it may be. The point is simple. Forget all these details. There was a huge wave that rushed over me as I was petting Gouda. I've experienced this before, but to a lesser degree, that this is all potentially pre-negotiated. Doesn't mean every little minute we have no free will. That's not what I'm saying. I don't know how to bridge the two. This isn't exactly easy to talk about. Matt, this is too intense. Can we just pause for a minute? And can you tell us about your failed barroom pickups, how you're pretty smart when you talk into a microphone, and you seem like you could actually carry on a conversation with anybody you meet, but how you were a dreadful failure with women, and can you do more of that? Well, yeah, I've told you before about the lines I've used for just driving up to girls. Never worked. And maybe Levette didn't know this. Ride with me for my pleasure. Never worked. Never worked for us. In a bar? And I said, what's your name? Susan? It must be something to know you, Susan, in private life. Never worked for some reason. I mean, I got desperate to use like, you must be Irish because my penis is Dublin. None of it worked for some reason. So I have cats. And guess what? I don't feel cheated in any way. I think that is a big part of part 2, the work. I don't think you're quite there. Whatever the gifts you were given to be fully satisfied that this is basically what was intended, in my opinion. Don't feel in any way cheated. Don't feel that this is all there is, this existence, all 65 years, 80 years, that's it. Well, but one and done. One and done doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, as immortal beings, we got time. We got time, okay? We got time to experience a lot of different things. People are constantly like reaching out to me or commenting. And yeah, Matt, we all see through the trick now. But yeah, that part 2, I see it too, Matt. That is definitely more important. The entire trick of the knot milk and its alkalites and its minions is to keep us from ever getting to part 2. So, but Matt, what is part 2? And I've stressed, it's what you make it for yourself. I can't tell you what to do for part 2, but I probably can do a better job of giving examples that have worked, I think, for other people, things that people have shared with me and what's worked for me. So, okay, in terms of what we're talking about, a big part of part 2, the work, is we hear, all over YouTube, we hear about this van life and off-grid living. And of course, the way it's presented on YouTube is a little unrealistic, usually. I mean, it's pretty difficult. Okay, of course it is. I mean, have you done it? No, but that doesn't mean I can't realize the struggles and how difficult it would be. Let's just take the van life. And again, these people that present, there's a guy that does the van life channel. He's not trying to fool anybody. He's not milk. He's trying the best. He's not overly making it rosy, but it comes across as a little too rosy. The people like, oh, I'm so happy I took up van life. Well, it's tough. Okay, sitting in the van in the Walmart parking lot in the rain in November, and you haven't talked to another human being for 4 weeks. Oh, I'm sure it gets tough. But the point is, one of the major parts of part 2, the work, and you have to figure out part 2 for yourself. The worry about yourself, worry about yourself. You have to do that but here it is. Sitting in the van, and okay, it might not be the greatest, as you haven't talked to another human being in 4 weeks and it's pouring rain, but to be sitting in the van and not in any way want or covet, say, a rich person's lifestyle. I think that is a major part of part two, the work, for most people, to be satisfied and appreciate what you have, and to not, it's like the 7 deadly sins coming back in, to not covet or want. Or wouldn't it be great? In my van, in van life, I drove by these beautiful stretch of houses in Bryn Mawr. There's nice homes down in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, down by Bryn Mawr College, and those liberal lunatics were down by Villanova. There are lesser liberal lunatics, and there's some really nice homes to be thinking, oh boy, I wish I was in one of those jacuzzi tubs, and maybe just to dream, maybe I had a butler named, every butler's either named Alfred or Jarvis, right? Every single butler in the world is either Alfred or Jarvis or Jeeves, right? And say Alfred or Coleman. I guess you could go the trading places. Coleman. That sounds like Dan Aykroyd. Bring me a champagne and jacuzzi tub. What's that? We didn't have jacuzzi as a kid. We fought in a tub. We want jacuzzi. But put the jacuzzi tub on, and just to covet, to if the person that's done part two, the work correctly in the van, they might not be loving their situation. It's two different things. But they're not wanting or coveting or dreaming of the big home with Coleman in Bryn Mawr. They're not wanting that. They're not coveting that or craving that. That is a gigantic part of part two, the work. Your situation may suck, and it's okay. You don't have to fool yourself and say, isn't this great? Oh, boy. Oh, what's that from? That's from Animal House. Oh, boy, is this great. As you're sitting in the van, it's pouring rain, and the damn thing barely starts, and you have no money, and you don't have to say it's great. You have to fool yourself. Oh, boy, is this... You don't have to do that. You can say, this sucks. Being in this van right now, there's a dead mouse somewhere, so it stinks. This sucks rocks. But maybe this is, in a way, what I signed up for. And if you could trade it right now, would you swap? Would you give up this to the pack of saltines you have stuffed under the seats to go and live a year in that big home in Bryn Mawr? And part two, the work is no, absolutely don't want it. Don't want it at all. That is a big part of part two, the work, in my opinion. There's a lot of things that apply to you that don't apply to me. Look, there's a lot of smart people, say, in our community that have talked about free will and hinted, or even much stronger than that it is far less than what you think, or it doesn't exist. And I don't believe that. I don't believe we are just going through some sort of exact script without free will, and it's all an illusion. There's a lot of smart people. It's a little scary. Maybe not a lot, but the people that I've come across, these people are not stupid. However, again, I don't think it's all or none. It doesn't have to be, completely pinned on one side of the sliding scale or the other. It can be a hybrid. There can be freedom of choice inside the situations, but yet the situations could be pre-negotiated or pre-planned, or where if you get something, you may have had to have given something up. Even you could consider that to be before you were born. That does not mean it was scripted, the exact words coming out of my mouth and what I'm going to do for the rest of the day, and we have no free will. Not at all. It can be just things that guide the sailboat. It can be something in the middle. And it's quite possible, if you're living Jared Kushner lifestyles, of the rich Jared Kushner lifestyles, if Ivanka, I want more pancakes. If you're living those lifestyles, it may be possible that part two, the work, the most important part of a physical or material world incarnation, can't even be done. That's where Tony called them game addicted, the sequential incarnation. Ivanka, I want more pancakes. I want Subway from Jared too. Maybe you can't do part work in the middle of those sorts of lifestyles, can you? That's where they're game addicted. They're not willing to advance the way we're willing to advance. And then every time I do this, it's always the Larry Silverfish. We got to do the Larry Silverfish role play. You people just deluding yourself, thinking how you just say how great you are and how advanced you are over us. We control skyscrapers. We control WTC leases. We control You know what you are? I was going to, not with your cheap shoes and your good bag. You look, Larry Silverfish, you look like a rube. No, you know what you are? You're a lesser spiritual entity. And I feel sorry for you, Larry Silverfish. And considering what was said just a few minutes back, I know she has kids now and she's still with Jared, but I need to start using at least 5 minutes of each presentation to start wooing Ivanka away from Jared. I'm pretty sure she listens. If I do it consistently enough and I have my heart in it, I believe I could eventually, through these presentations, get her to leave Jared and maybe even leave the kids and run off with me. If these presentations stop, you'll know what happened. And of course, when you make a little joke like that, the trans Paco Taco army is 1% still here. You still have little remnants of the trans Paco Taco army here that would want to remind me, like I have no idea what they would want to tell me, that Matt, Ivanka is an M-A-N, and so's Gal Gadot. Sorry, I promised at least certain people it wouldn't break down into nonsense, and we need to do at least another 10 minutes of a more serious serious conversation. So just in case this does break down, a quick summary, and I will look to your comments. Comments are extremely important in this one. What I'm saying, and I'm just using Gouda as one example among thousands, that what would I give 5 years from now? And I thought, wait a second, maybe it's not 5 years from now, it's now. And what would I give? I kept saying almost anything. And I said, maybe I already gave it. It's some sort of a pre-negotiation. I felt that's how I got to where, not Gal Gadot, how I got to where I got with Gouda. Not 5 years from now, what would you give almost anything? You're reaping the reward now, Matt, because you did give up something to a degree. This is not 5 years from now, because something or some sort of sacrifice was already given. I'm just telling you, of course, there's no way I can go off to the Library of Congress and research that and prove that. We've done a good job with these inner tuning forks, these receptors, the inner knowing receptors. That is a major part of part 2 of the work. Remind yourself because the ego sometimes can work for the wrong team. Remind yourself every day. Talk to the body. I do. Guess what? It works. But in this sense, remind the body and remind every aspect of you that for today, it's as a training day for inner knowing, inner tuning fork. We can see through every aspect of the trick, but we're going to get even more powerful. Keep reinforcing that, where the body can work synergistically with all the parts of you. So the inner knowing is just off the charts. See, everything in this world is meant to hide those receptors, to calcify it over. An ego-dominated brain with just logic, that doesn't have access to those receptors. Where do you think the term gut feeling came from? Gut feeling. Way more powerful in terms of what is right and what is wrong, or where to go or when to duck, than the logical mind and the thinking in English. But we have to use all parts or we just wouldn't be able to get out of bed in the morning. I have to use those parts now, of course. My presentation would just go. It wouldn't. I need to enunciate in English, or it just doesn't work. So we have to use all parts, but use them to our advantage. One of the Not Nilk's main goals, of course, is to tell people that's all you are. You're a body and a brain and an ego. That's it. Well, don't I got no spiritual side of the Trivian Man? And then the Not Nilk says back, what's that? Did you say spiritual side? Oh, boy. Have him stand up, sir. Have him locked up. It doesn't even acknowledge we have a spiritual side. And if you try to talk about it, you're some sort of lunatic. I went back and listened to that part. I said, did you say spiritual side? Like, there's a little kid next to me. I swear this tree used to, can I borrow your air pump? He was asking for an air pump for his bicycle. Can I borrow your air pump? He couldn't speak right. I'm not trying to cut him up. It might have been a Philly accent. His brother was Anthony. Is it spiritual? So how about the person? This reminds me of the person. Remember a few videos back in the mythology that said, Matt, we're not going to take advice on reality and how things work. You can't even pronounce words. Matt, you can harp on this every time. Yeah, for a couple years. You said Adontis, you idiot. And then you said spiritual side. And what's the other one? Astanta. And okay, that person, I hope the way I treated them because of the way they treated me, I hope they're long gone from this channel and they found the appropriate BitChute and Rumble fear channels and they found the old man in a chair so they can think we're just weeks away from entire populations being wiped out. You don't deserve a conversation like this, sir, whether I say spiritual or spiritual. Sorry. So in terms of part 2, the work, the people that have been asking me about it, do you have a little notebook that you carry around? No, I bet you don't. Do you have even one? I just have a 3x5 card. Whatever part 2 of the work means for you. I'll tell you what's on my 3x5 card. It starts here, but my list isn't hopefully not going to be your list. We all would have to be here for at least slightly different reasons. I have right here. This is one sentence. If I had to boil the entire reality down to one sentence, it's a simple battle here. There's not milk and its forces on its side of the tug of war. Its job is to lower your frequency. If I had to put it in one sentence, it sums it up. What exactly that means, you have to figure out on your own. Our job is to overcome the adversary and raise our frequency. Okay, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but if I had to put it in one sentence, there it is. I think things like, this is how memories are made. Something bad happens. Guess what you remember? If every day's kind of good, kind of a pretty good day, but, we had 2 weeks of pretty good days with Gouda in there, and I don't really remember one bit of what happened. But something odd happened, and it wasn't that great, and we had to overcome it. And then, this is how memories are made. And it doesn't mean memories are only made when something bad happens. It means you can capitalize on something bad happening and actually turn it into something good. So what's this one? Goal is to find in every day, find the heaven amidst the hell. What you latch on to is up to you. I mean, these are simple things. Do you people that complain, Matt, you don't talk enough about part 2 of the work. Do you even have a simple 3x5 card? Start doing it for yourself. Doc Graham's speech not from Bull Durham, Field of Dreams. Always confuse those two. Realize the special and amazing moments of your life as they're happening. Talk to your body and your receptors and say, I'm not going to miss that, and look back 5 weeks later or a year later and say, that was incredible. I'm going to notice the moment and how incredible it is as it's happening, as I did with Gouda when all those receptors turned on. I was petty. What would I give to be doing this when he's gone? Or all the receptors turned on. This is one of these incredible moments as it's happening. The moment's not 5 years from now, it's now. And maybe I gave something up in order to have this, so I'm going to experience it and take it all in as it's happening. Go watch the Doc Graham, interview, or when Kevin Costner finds him back in 1975. Ray Kinsella, are you the type of man that can make those sort of things happen? A little magic left in the moonlight? What would you say if I said yes? Go watch that scene again. Go watch the Gods Envy Us speech. Brad Pitt and Troy. The gods envy us because we're mortal. Everything is more beautiful because we are doomed. It's not Matt, that's atheism. No, it's not. Absolutely not. Depends how you interpret it. The gods of this world envy us because we are the only ones with big enough balls to have the mortal experience, to have the notion constantly creeping in, even going into the moment of death, even though we've done the work in life, that this could be the end of existence. That notion creeping in is one of the things that makes this place so incredible. Damien Rice in Cannonball, all the dualities presented in the chorus. Stones taught me to fly, life taught me to die. You can't learn about death unless you go through this life in a material type existence. It's so incredible if you see the incredible parts of us, other than part of the truth community. Just, Matt, I thought you'd eventually come around and seeing this is hell. It wasn't exactly put like that. It was, these people were upset with me. Matt, I thought you would have come around by now. This is hell. Oh, really? Oh, you have like a Hellfires Club? I'm going to shut the whole channel down and we can see the whole life is hell and latch on to the George Soros position on the world. No, it's up to you what you choose to focus on and latch on to. I'll be the first to admit that there's an asshole here that tries to create hell. Have you ever listened to any of my videos going back? There is a group of assholes here. I think per the original design of this reality, their job is to propagate the hell, but they can never fully stamp out the heaven. They just can't do it. It is beyond their charter. As John Malkovich says when he's trying to woo Michelle Pfeiffer, actually in this case, trying to break up with her, it is beyond my control. It is beyond their control. They cannot truly stamp out the heaven. So what you choose to latch on to is up to you. If you choose to latch on to the big toe of the old man in a chair, it's up to you. And I realize now like 10% of you don't know what the old man in a chair is, so 30 seconds or less. right about the time after C, the V of 2020, I guess the rental of the Carl Weathers movie Action Jacksonation, which was rented from Blockbuster in both arms and came with subsequent boosters in VHS format. The old man in the chair came out and says, "Oh boy, he used the word, and other truthers use the word genocide." You understand what that means? That's like what Mao did with the Cultural Revolution. And genocide, he and others said, were coming. And gigantic portions of populations were just, because they rented the VHS movie, were just going to say, I can't say it here, just go away. Oh, if you're addicted to that fear, you're doing exactly what the Not Milk wants you to do as a truth researcher. If you pursue these fear topics, or any of these ridiculous bog topics, you're literally just willingly handing your energy, your loosh, over to Not Milk, as most of the truth community does. The pursuit of if the Nephilim look like clowns, I'm sorry. Let me just see if that relates in any way to part 2 of the work. Does if the Nephilim looks like clowns, does that relate in any way to what you need to do for yourself in this incarnation? It's like a buzzer in a bad game show. So the Nephilim, they look like clowns. That doesn't relate to what I need to do in the little time I have left in this existence to better my spiritual whole. See, and that's one of the more ridiculous ones. But in the truth research community, there's tens of thousands of ridiculous ones. Go jump back in the bog if you want to. So someday, going through the moment or the portal of death as you stand before your God or whatever your belief system is, your higher self, the dream character merging back to the higher self, you could say, who's up next? I like the role plays with higher self. Yeah, I'm gonna call it out. I'm gonna yell at it a few times. It's fun. Who's up next? Who we got next that just came through the portal of death that wants to merge back with me, Jack Burton, higher self, me. We got Matt. Well, that's that conspiracy son of a beach from outside Philadelphia. Bring his spiritual broke ass in. What'd you do for the collective whole? I got hundreds of y'all down there in simultaneous incarnations, as Tony said. I got hundreds of y'all. What you doing for us? Well, sir, are you me? Yeah, and I'm him. Just like when he drove Carolyn home. Who's he? I'm him. Who are you? He's me. Well, what I did is I helped prove that the Nephilim look like clowns. What? You conspiracy son of a bitch. Get the hell out and go do it again. And you know what I'm going to say? This time in the slums of Delhi. Now, wait a second, sir. If you're my higher self, you need to listen to me. All these conspiracy topics were presented in front of me. What did you expect us to do? Just ignore it? Haven't you ever seen a conspiracy map or where you sent me to Earth? Who's the dumb one now, higher self? Did you expect me to ignore all of these topics? Yes. You were supposed to see through it, rise above it, raise your frequency, and then move on and do it. I understand. Where were you again? Oh, yeah, outside Philadelphia. Where's that? Where was that son of a bitch? He has an assistant up here. Higher self has an assistant. What? That son of a bitch was on Earth. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to tone it down a bit. Earth has a particularly nasty adversary that some idiot down there calls Not Milk, but others call it many different things. Some call it Jinn, and others call it Satan. Yeah, that Earth. Oh, is that where we sent you? Okay, I take it back a little bit. Have a seat, Matt. That place has a particularly nasty adversary, and their trick is very, very formidable. But yes, sorry, you were supposed to see through it and then do what you were supposed to do for us, which can only be done if you exit the trick. Now, you didn't do it. You come up before me at the moment of death barking about something like Nephilim look like clowns. I don't even know what that means. Well, higher self, sir, let me explain that to you. You see, the Nephilim were... Shut up. Shut it. I don't care. We watched you, Matt, very closely. As you dove back into your conspiracy bog, you were all proud of yourself that you had some of that horseshit figured out. What happened to the side of the Pentagon? You thought you had it figured out. You put a little push pin on your conspiracy map. Said, I got that figured out. And what else? Oh, the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases. You got that all figured out. And what's the other one? Oh, it's laser beam weapons from space that cause fires. Oh, you got that all figured out. You kept putting your push pins in. Guess what? If you were to step back from the push pins, any of our incarnations that didn't have their head completely up their ass would see that there's too many push pins. No real world could pull all that off. No real world could accomplish all of that, meaning the entire thing is part of the same trick. You idiot incarnation. Now get down there and do it right this time. Not another word. So in summary, on the moment of death, if you want to make the case to your higher self or your God that you've figured out why the Nephilim look like clowns, have fun with that. If you want to abandon and leave the trick behind and do the things here that the only things here that the Not-Nulk doesn't want you to do, then you can choose to go do them. And it's not up to me to give you that list. You can kind of see what the Not-Nulk's trying to keep you from, where it wants you to invest your energy, what it wants you to get upset about, what it wants you to worry about. And then you can choose to give it the energy it wants, or you can try to rise above it, and it's not easy. It took me years to rise above just a rooster call way down the road. It wasn't even like a row home in Philadelphia where the rooster was just 4.5 feet away and Anthony lives next door. It was down the road. It took me years to get over that. Matt, then you're not doing very well. You don't have a lot of time left and you got to make big strides and big gains. I do. I have to. But here's what one of the things when something really is bothering me, and I don't think this is a rationalization. It relates to the beginning of this video about that moment I had with Gouda. Something really is getting screwed up or really bothers me, or this, life doesn't seem fair, whatever it may be. That life brings these things, as you all know, as they all do. You'd say, wait, this could be some. I've had these beautiful moments in my life, and it seems to be for this, something needs to be given back. There's no life that is completely one-sided. And what is given back, or the very difficult times or the trials, could have been pre-negotiated or pre-planned before birth. We'll look to Joe and others to comment on that, to see if there's any merit to that. But again, what led to this video is I've had experiences before where my inner tuning fork, goes to 10 out of 10. And it's like a blue light special at Kmart, just blinking and flashing. And I don't want to say never have had a flood of what came over me when I was petting Gouda, but it was very, very strong, like a wave. And again, it was, what would I give? Almost anything to be able to be doing this in the future. Or wait a second, I'm doing it now, and maybe I gave something up or in some sort of a negotiation to be doing what I'm doing right now, so I'm going to enjoy it, just like Doc Graham said, is understanding the moments, the most incredible moments of our lives, and seeing them and noticing them while they're happening. So to wrap the Midnight Reality portion up, I would like the second portion of this video to be me complaining about some of the comments in the end of college football video from yesterday, and somehow they just kind of heard whatever they wanted to hear and weren't listening at all to what I was saying. Just a fun complaint if anybody wants to stick with me on the back end. But part 2 of the work is a 3x5 card. Once you see through the trick, what to concentrate on for the remainder of your life and do for yourself is a short list. Of course, it's always going to be simple. If there's somebody that's out to make it complicated, just turn around and run in the other direction. Or maybe you have a small notebook. How many listening even have one page written down or posted to the refrigerator about these are the main 5 things I believe I need to do for the rest of my life to work on, or it's going to become 10 things. Just a 1 page or a half page. I bet very few have it written down. And make sure you're not unrealistic. You can't write down bullet point 3, let nothing bother me. Well, that's ridiculous. Thousands of things are going to bother us. We're in the body. The body is low. It's always going to be full of limitations. Do you ever smell a fart in an elevator? That's embrace the low. That's part of the experience. That's part of the reason we came. You need to be specific. Do not let in the in-laws or, cousin Bill and whatever, they get under my skin, or you have to be more specific. And then once you don't let them, they come for Thanksgiving or something, whatever it is, it can be small and trivial to start. Then you expand on it. The rooster no longer bothers me at all. then I take that little, remember that little grain that was left at the end of the never-ending story, that little grain of light that was left that escaped the nothing, and then it grew back into, what was it, Fantasia or whatever? You grow it, just continue to grow it. Of course, it would be kind of unfortunate if all you could do for the remainder of your life was not get upset at Uncle Fred at Thanksgiving. But you use that, and then once that's just nothing, then you use it and grow and to keep changing what's on your 3x5 card. Nothing vague. It has to start with specifics. Don't let anything bother me. We are always going to be bothered. Going into the moment of death, there will always be some fear. That's okay. That's part of this experience. In one of those Star Trek movies, it was Sybok, was Spock's half-brother, had hijacked the Enterprise. He was going around to Scotty and all the crew and saying, let me take your pain away. And the crew was allowing, through some sort of brainwashing and mind control or meditation, that their pain was being taken away, and they were becoming some sort of, like, they're on some sort of drug, some sort of LSD, and they seemed happy and everything, but it wasn't real. It wasn't genuine. It wasn't what the experience is for. And Kirk said, no, I'm not going to let Sybok into my mind to take my pain. Kirk says, I need my pain. I want my pain. It's part of who I am. Every negative that we've gone through here, it's part of who we are. We want to go in the moment of death with a confidence that we always have existed, we always will, and then just knowing that and just feeling that, well, then 95% of any real fear of death or the end of existence goes away. But there always will be fear. Don't have to completely snuff it out, or, oh no, on my deathbed there was a regret, and will that turn into karma? We can never ever get rid of it. It's the confidence of knowing we've done enough. Yeah, going into the moment of death, I'm a little afraid. It's okay, because I've done enough. I've gotten rid of 90% of it. Or the family gathering, they still bother me a little bit, but you know what? Boy, look how far I've come. I've done enough. You're the judge on the standard, as if you've done enough. And then, of course, in the 3x5 card, general things too. There's an adversary here. There's a real low asshole thing here. Not Milk, it's Minions, it's Alec Baldwin's. It's always looking to lower my frequency. So I'm going to try to raise it, whatever that means to me. You don't know where to start. What does this thing you seek to understand, what is it trying to do to you? Then you can see very clearly, as we all see through the trick, what it's trying to do to all of us daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, throughout the course of our entire lives. We see what it wants, so we know basically the opposite is the true path. I mean, thanks, Not Milk. Hey, thanks, AI Overview and Not Milk. You show me very clearly what you want me to do, what you want me to give you, what emotions you want me to pour forth. So I know the answer is to do the opposite. Hey, thanks, Not Milk. I'm not even joking. It shows you it clearly, and just do the opposite. Write that on the 3x5 card. It's up to you. On my card, I wrote, again, find the heaven and don't latch on to the hell, but up to a certain point. If I have a flat tire and I forgot my coat and it's sleeting outside, I'm not going to stand out there and be like, oh boy, is this great? You could say this is how memories are made. You can try your best. You don't have to fool yourself that, oh, isn't this wonderful? Isn't this great? No, come on. Within reason. Just knowing you've done enough. That the confidence at the end, knowing we've done enough. And it's our decision if it's time to leave. The whole reality tries to disempower, meaning it's all up to you, every bit of it. I've done enough. Get us out of here. If there's an aspect of me that's not here, we're not doing anymore if that's your decision. I know that's the cool thing. If you're a truther, you have to just say that you don't want to do this again. Why? There's things you haven't done, or you just had a lifetime like Josh. Maybe you want to do it again in a totally different way. So what? We got time.
but that's not cool, Matt. If you're a real truther, you say, I'm done with this reality. If you're a real truther, you want to get the Righteous Truther Award from Matt. You say, I don't watch sports. What's this video about college football? I haven't watched sports in 20 years.
Righteous Truther Award. It wasn't about college football. It was about your adversary. If you want the Righteous Truther Award, you know what? If you're looking for the Righteous Truther Award and you're just dying to tell us you threw out your television, that's ego. Uh-oh, you have a lot of work to do. You're not the truther you believe you are. So why aren't, at this point, 10% of the comments on every video should be, let me share with all of you what one of my bullet points are for part 2, the work. Just the comments, there's nothing, you know what? I would have succeeded if videos, even if I'm doing Melvin and Bezzo. Hey, Bezzo, how are we going to screw these people over this week, Bezzo? If I'm doing that, half the comments, let me share with everybody an interesting part 2, the work, whatever I came up with this week. Have the comments littered in that sort of thing, and hopefully there'll be commonalities. There hopefully won't be 1,000 different permutations of part 2, the work, because in the end, I think it's very simple. It's like general things like raising frequency, so maybe it won't be that many comments. I'd like part 2, the work comments, even on videos that have nothing to, even I'm complaining about the movie reviewers. Then I know this channel will have succeeded. Okay, we're leaving the comments about, Matt, let me explain to you why the Nephilim really are clowns. That's irrelevant. If you're still there, you've got a lot of work to do. If you want to crawl back under that rock and get back into that bog, most people here aren't there. We've left the trick behind. We've great divorced it, C.S. Lewis'd it, make it into a verb. And to close, if it all wasn't up to you, then what's this gigantic infrastructure of assholes? What's it playing its trick for? It's playing its trick so you get to think, or it wants you to think false things, not about how the world works. Most importantly, it wants you to think false things about yourself. And most importantly, that you have no power or no say. No, you'll no say. When guess what? That means you have all the power and all the say. The rule of opposites has never been broken. Normally, I would say thanks for listening now, but I want to complain about some of the comments in the last video. If anybody wants to stick, this will break down into nonsense if anybody wants to stick with this. First off, regarding yesterday's video about the end of college football. Yes, most of what was said was about the specifics as to how it's being ruined in the transfer portal, but overall, the theme was not college football. Overall, it was not milk tactics and its ruination of one more thing. Now, we didn't get into the metaphysics and the spiritual battle. We didn't go that far. We've talked about that other times. It was about not milk tactics using this specific example of college football. So, of course, I knew, getting into that, I knew the righteous truthers would come full force.
Who watches that? Matt, will you watch college football? What's wrong with you?
Oh, I knew all that would come. Where I really made my mistake, though, was mentioning that parents should be involved in a 14-year-old going to a doctor to get the abortion pill or the morning after pill. And I mentioned it to Greg. Oh, you didn't mention that polarizing. Oh, you can't go. See, people just like latched on and they just heard what they wanted to hear. And it's so polarizing, those topics, that if it wasn't said in the exact way they wanted it to say, they didn't really listen to me. A few people lashed out at me. They just didn't listen to a word I said. One comment was like, so you want 14-year-olds to be carrying babies around? Oh, boy. I didn't say I want 14-year-olds to be carrying babies or anything. I simply said I believe a 14-year-old should be the responsibility of parents. Is that really that radical? Hello, Mr. Jacobs? It's for you. It's God. He says we should have girls here at Weldon. I didn't say anything about abortion itself. I wouldn't go there. I simply believe like a 12-year-old, really the parents are responsible. A 13-year-old, I believe the parents are responsible. And even 14. Maybe you could argue 16 or 17, parents are not responsible. Fine, but not for a 14-year-old. That's the only point I was making. So if they can just go to a doctor for something that monumental in their lives without the parents not being involved is what I was talking about. People just heard what they wanted to hear, and it was so polarizing. Come on, get lost. And remember, a few minutes back, we talked about what's cool in the truth community and what's taboo. And you better say you're done with this world. I mean, this guy is a truth researcher, and he says if reincarnations really might want to come back, what could be, so going along with the crowd, it's like high school here. It even affects us here. And one of the ways that comes out very strongly is if, God forbid, you say anything positive about sports. Oh, the truthers get their back up. He's not one of us. It's like the end of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Invasion of the Body Snatchers pointing. I knew he wasn't one of us. He actually admitted in a video he likes to watch sports. Oh, you know what? The pure sport, when it was pure. I'm well aware that the NFL has been slightly tainted and money's involved and not milk interest. This is my first video coming off the turnip truck. Pure sport in its pure form is a beautiful thing. You know what? We all played in Little League because we're all not milk. Is that why I like to be a pitcher? When I was in 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, Greg played Pee-wee football because he's all not milk too. No, sports, when they're pure sports, is a great thing. And watching Jackie Robinson play, or 25 years before that, Ty Cobb, or the origins of football, Chuck Bednarik with that famous hit across the middle on Frank Giffords. When in today's dollars, in today's world, they're making like $55,000, just enough to be able to do it and not have a job on the side. For 40 years, baseball players had jobs on the side. When it existed at the pure sport, it was a great thing for both the players and the fans. You want to get your back up. Oh, my God, Matt, don't you know that a baseball field is the square and compass? Oh, my God. Fine. You want to just pretend you're one of the cool crowd. No, you know what a real truther does? Speaks their mind and says what they believe, no matter what the ramifications. Pure sport, what the Olympics were 40 years ago, whatever, is a beautiful thing. Not switching just because I think the people in the truth community are going to jump all over me because you can't say anything good about sports. Oh my God. Get a clue. Thanks for listening.